Hi, everyone. This is Marisa B. Welcome to Radiant Living, Inspiring Humanity to Thrive. Today, I have with me Isis Leeor, feral female. What am I going to say? Isis is an instructor, guide, mentor, teacher, coach. Hi, Isis. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, it's very sweet to be here with you.
Let me ask you, let's hear a little bit about yourself. I know you live in Europe currently, but you're originally from the United States. So tell us all about what you're doing in Europe and all over the world.
That's a very big question. Well, I work online, so I can be anywhere in the world, connect with you. Originally, I'm from Jersey, so I find talking with you very comforting.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, we've known each other for quite a while through Facebook groups for professional women, for coaches and therapists. And so I know, for example, I know you were in Japan recently and only just got back to where you live now. So I know that you do travel. Tell us a little bit about your work with people.
Well, I work online doing one-on-one work. So 3 to 6 month chunks, sometimes a year. And then I also lead small intimate groups. Right now I'm enrolling for Navigating the Wild, 10 women, 6-month container, about learning how to navigate the unknown and really become ourselves, to find safety, to find passion, to find permission within the unknown. And of course, as a professional woman, anybody on their edge, anybody growing, anyone becoming or expanding is living most of the time in the unknown, where you can't control exactly what's going to happen, and you have to find your safety inside instead of trying to manipulate your safety outside, so that you can really show up for the things and the relationships that you want.
And I know what's interesting, and we have spoken about this before, you deal with just as many men as you do women, which I find fascinating, because we had spoken about how a lot of the healing arts have a tendency of having more women show up, possibly because it deals with emotions and feelings. And yet you, like I, have a lot of gentleman clients, correct?
Well, I mean, I do work with men, and there was a year where I worked mainly with men. But right now, I have to say I've worked primarily with women and couples.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Of men. So I find it really precious to be a safe place for men to come and talk, and to not just be talking about emotions and kind of all of this amorphous language that we have, which I think sort of caters to the feminine, and actually making it practical. Relatable, something where they can see quick results, and they're like, oh, like talking to a construction worker and saying, well, what, can you really build a house if you don't have a strong foundation? Okay, what would you do? Add a hammer to build this?
Right. Well, it's true, right?
It's simple. It doesn't have to be like, and then I feel it can be just like, hey, is what you're doing working? Okay, let's try something else.
Right. Yeah, almost like a how-to, right? Really a how-to, more structured, perhaps more structured for them. I don't want to say simpler terms, because I don't want to be patronizing and say simple terms, but more along the lines of what resonates with them, with men. It doesn't have to be all the feelings and emotions that have to be beaten to death in their world, in their personal world. It's something that relates to them, or that they can relate to.
If I'm with somebody who speaks Spanish and they don't speak English, I'm going to do my best to speak Spanish with them.
Exactly.
Yes,
exactly. As long as the container is supportive and non-judgmental. So what they say is valid.
And I imagine, like you, I mean, I really admire men who have the courage to ask for help, and to admit that maybe they need a different tool, because I think there's been such a stigma in the past around you have to have it together, you have to know what you're doing. But that expectation is ridiculous, especially when less and less men are given scripts around what to do.
Mhm.
Talk about navigating in the wild. It's like the Wild West out there. Of course, they're not going to know what to do. Like, I've had men be afraid to open the door for me because they're afraid they're going to come off like they're not feminine or they're not supporting women. I've had men like, should I push her against the wall? Should I not push her against the wall? Like, it's just so wild out there. I think this is a really integral moment to help men come back to navigation instead of trying to do the checklist that makes them a good man.
Yeah, that's true. And it is very difficult for them, I would assume, because of where we are in history.
Oh yeah, I mean, so many constructs are being broken apart for all of us. And I think as women, we have a little bit more social permission to not know what we're doing. Whereas,
or show emotions, right? Or show emotions,
right, to show emotion.
more readily show emotions
to be scared, to be confused, to be vulnerable. And as a man, when the script you're given is like, be John Wayne and just get her done and like out into the Wild West by yourself on a horse, you know, like
yes
for them to then come to us and be like, this isn't really fulfilling, and we'd be like, yeah, no shit.
Or worse, that they've done something and it's perceived different than they wanted it to be perceived, and that could cause issue.
What do you,
especially in a relationship?
Yeah, and I think the question there is always, well, what were you aiming for?
So tell us a little bit about yourself. I know, for example, that you've been through something that most people have not, which was very serious health situation.
Yeah.
And how are you feeling now?
Good.
Wonderful.
In general, great. Like, I could not have consciously set up a more poetic passageway to kind of prove some of the things that I was teaching at a really intense level, and I'm masterful at them, because not only were they life or death in moments, but they also were like symptom versus symptom free.
And think about it. Well, if you'd like to tell the audience what it was, I'll let you tell them what happened, but it is definitely life-changing, isn't it?
Life affirming. Yeah, so
good way to put it. Yes, right.
I mean, I've been through a lot of unusual things. Some things I chose, some things which happened. But the most, well, I mean, the thing that you're talking about was a major brain surgery. And I had something growing in the center of my brain, and it got to a point where, I mean, I could barely see for a month, and I was having constant headaches. So it reached a moment where I'm like, okay, what's going on? And the cyst was pressing up against the rest of my brain. It was an, oh my God, it was a pineal cyst. So it's a very rare surgery because it's in the very center of your head.
Yes.
And it's not one of those things where you can go up the nose. Like, you know, one of the first things I heard from a surgeon as they were looking at my brain was like, if I touch you here, I'm going to kill you. If I touch you here, you go blind. You know, like I just want to let you know, the brain is not as forgiving as other parts of the body. There's a lot of different ways that I could change or end your life. You could have a stroke on the table. There's a 50% chance, even if I do it perfectly, you will continue to have the symptoms that you have now, potentially be worse. Do you still want to do it? And I was like, I have researched the hell out of you. I choose you. I'm going to roll my dice with you. And, you know, I came out of the surgery basically having had my nervous system messed with, because the brain is part of the system. And a lot of the work that I do, and I imagine you do as well, is helping people learn how to regulate their nervous system. And, whether we do that consciously or unconsciously, whether we do it by listening or creating safety through empathy, or we're actually giving people tools. So I got to put all of the things that I had been teaching into practice. Like, for example, in the first week recovering from the surgery, meditating on the beauty of flowers and watching how my brain was looping around like, oh my God, I feel like a bear just clawed off of half my head because I couldn't feel half my
gosh.
And just don't think about that. Look at the beauty of the flowers. Like, look how you are okay. Like, look for the preciousness of life. And slowly getting my body to the point where I wasn't tracking and therefore recreating symptoms, but I was actually utilizing the adrenaline, moving that charge and moving through the experience and allowing my brain to end this pathway of like shooting pains and headaches and all of this stuff, and just focus on like, okay, actually that we can stop sending those signals now because we did the thing. Which I imagine this is why half the people don't have any symptom relief, is because their brain's still sending signals down these pathways. And actually move back into thriving. So, I mean, what an incredibly poignant opportunity for me. To really.
I remember when I heard it, you're a professional person, and the nature of the job that you do, and you have to mention it to people. And I recall when I heard it and I was in shock. I'm like, oh my gosh. One day I'm listening to you live, and the next day I'm hearing you say that you have to undergo this procedure. And that, yes, it was jarring. I said, oh my gosh, how is this happening? A young, vibrant woman, how is this happening? And having to have this surgery. And as you said, as soon as you were able to come back to your clients and to the public, and I saw that you were working through everything and how you were explaining it, it really was a lesson for many people, because you were living what you had been educating people about before, and then you had to do it yourself and use those tools that you know about in your arsenal to get yourself well.
I mean, I think that's really what makes us trustworthy leaders, is having lived the things we're talking about. Like we were talking about working with men. When I'm working with men, I grew up in New Jersey. So I grew up in a very sort of masculine focused paradigm. And I did a lot of the things that have been hurting a lot of the men that I work with, like pushing myself to breaking, being hyper focused at the expense of myself. And so I can joke about those things because I've lived them so thoroughly. It's not like I'm reading it from a book and guessing at how that is for them. And so the same thing going through this brain surgery, and having actually, before I went through the surgery, I worked with somebody who had a really compromised nervous system, that nobody knew what was wrong and barely leave the house, and had helped them with these tools to start to get their life back and become functional and start to thrive again, which was really incredible. But it's just such validation for me to use these tools at this level. And I think it also makes them more accessible to other people. Again, like you said, to see me actually work through it. I video 3 weeks after brain surgery.
Yes.
And I can see in the video, okay, I'm a little ungrounded because literally my head was healing. But I was functioning really well. I mean, I was moving the adrenaline, I was moving the animal in me by like walking through the woods over an hour a day, and really just let the animal system know, like, you made it. Like you escaped the tiger, like you beat it. Look at you, like you survived. It's over. Like, okay, there's a surge of adrenaline. Like, push the tree, like growl, push the tree, move it. You're okay. You're okay. Okay, ignore that shooting pain. That's not real. It's an echo. Flowers, like, and just working it. And then one day it's like, oh, okay, I can feel a scar in my head, but
But I know that, of course, you went through this. This was life-changing, life-affirming. But does it make you even more vivacious now? I mean, you were before. I know the type of guidance and coaching that you did before, and I see that, you know, you still have programs that are similar, because really how we initially met through one of the groups was Feral Female, and I thought that that was such a perfect title, because women have been so often told not to be who and what they are, or to, and you know, that could be thousands of shows with you and I, the body image, the perception. I mean, these are all things I know, as I said, because of the groups that we've been in and the conversations and your discussions live, you know, the fantasies of men and the beliefs in how women have to behave, but yet what they want from women, and what women have come to believe they need to be or look like, especially Western women in the Western part of the world, what they're supposed to look like, and things that from birth you can't change, like how tall you could be. You should be just there's no getting on a rack and stretching ourselves. It just can't be, you know. But you know, these kind of things. So I know that you were doing these things before. How has this brought you forth after the procedure? How are you working with people more? Because of course there's more, isn't there more of a zest of for life, because every day is a blessing? I mean, now it's like living the truth that every day is a blessing, right? More or less.
Well, this wasn't the first time I could have died.
True.
Oh, I know, but literally, like, I went through, I was poisoned through malpractice, and also 1 year, and I think I was 27, 28, and had a year where I could have died. But I do feel this time like I'm in the second half of my life. And there is this kind of great tenderness I feel towards myself. So, I mean, it was a reminder of how precious time is and how little this life is, in a way, and a check-in with, like, okay, if I were to die now, what feels unfulfilled in terms of what I from this lifetime. But really, I love myself even more. And I feel actually much less of a drive to go out and make things happen in the world, and even more of an incentive to enjoy myself.
But do you find that now working with clients, it's real, it's very real? What you say to them is very real. It's because life is short, and and we see that, and so it's there. It can't be any more raw and honest when you work with them.
I mean, it's always been that way for me, but you know, I definitely got like a refresher. And you know, you were talking about the shock of suddenly I need to have brain surgery. Well, it's also equally shocking for me to go from I mean, I was moving back to the US not for surgery. I was moving back to the US because I wanted to be in the trees, to kind of have a feeling of, is this home or is Spain home? And then within a month, I'm in crisis and I'm on death watch, and I'm more or less alone in a country I haven't lived in a long time, and I could die. So that feeling of this could be it in any sense, how are you going to live this moment, is definitely fresh for me. And I think all of these pressures we put on ourselves, when you get to that place where, like, this could be it, they seem ridiculous.
Right.
Like, that feels fresh for me.
I mean, think about how long your hair is, or how thin you are, or how are these things really important? You know, or you're not a blonde, you're a brunette, you know.
even this constant stress to prove yourself. I mean, each time I've been in some sort of crisis, I've been reminded that wealth really is in the quality of your relationships.
It's true.
I was
Very
reminded
true.
that again. And then also, I mean, this year, just wanting to travel a lot, wanting to have experiences, wanting to be, and I've always wanted to be in beauty, but be in nature. That's why I bought over 100 plants in this unfurnished house, because we brought nature into the house. Wanting to take more time to just be, because I guess I don't feel like there's anywhere really to rush to go. Like when I had that check-in with, where do I feel like I would have regret, it wasn't around my career. Like I've done some really incredible work, and I've worked with a lot of people. And as I get ready to expand out, it's not because I feel like I have to, or I would be bad if I decided I wanted to do something else. It's because there's a feeling of inspiration and play. And getting close to that edge again, I really don't want to do anything unless it's from inspiration, play, desire, joy. I don't want anything to come from a should, because I mean, I have a system I had still that's been drained, but it could, theoretically, it could grow back. And I can't track in any moment exactly what's going on in my head. So a neurosurgeon said it really well. He said, Isis, everyone has a gun cocked at their heads. We just don't know what's happening in the body until it shows itself. And, this was before the surgery. It's very unlikely it's going to grow back. But before the surgery, he's like, you just happen to know where, where it's pointed.
Right, exactly. And
so, and maybe this is true for everyone who has been through some sort of big illness that could come back, or is living with something that could progress. There is this feeling of like, this is my time, and I want it to be fulfilling for me.
And yet you still offer services to people. You have, I mean, you're still a professional, you still offer services to people. You still have groups that you're doing. I think you offer some programs, right? You have like 6-month programs that you're doing. And
definitely.
So you still provide the services.
I'm really walking my talk in that way, where it's because I love it, because I want people to have this information, because it's really exciting to see people become themselves, and to see people really spread out and take up their space in their lives, and to go after what they want. I mean, for me, it's why we're here. To enjoy, to play, to not just be stuck in the things that have happened to us. And I want to be in that conversation. And I really delight in like seeing someone realize they're not a duck, they're a swan, and spread their wings and be like, oh my God. And I was like, haha, I knew it the whole time. So it's for me. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, you asked like, how am I different on the other side of brain surgery? I feel a lot less internal pressure.
Yes.
And I feel like I want to enjoy myself, and I feel even more accountable than I was before to, is this something that I want? I have a teacher who says, what is it, for me, for you, for us? As opposed to, I mean, growing up in Jersey, there was a lot of push to accomplish, to do, to look this way to other people. And I've been stripping that away layer by layer by layer. I mean, moving to Spain definitely helped me shed a lot. But brain surgery definitely dropped another integral piece. Like, hey, if I'm going to die tomorrow, like, I'm going to enjoy this.
Yes. It's true. It's very true. It does make you reassess things, of course.
And how you're doing it.
Yes. Yeah. And of course, there's also a constant reassessing because you've gone through it. So it's a constant reviewing things, reviewing, this, not that, because you've gone through that. But of course, always being professional, you still have to provide services to people, and naturally they're going to see the authenticity because you're giving them the tools for them to shine, right? You're providing them with the true path for themselves. I think I remember hearing something, one of your talks, where you said that it's not the plan of the group or the plan of the instructor. It's the plan for you, right? Because sometimes we get a little carried away, and it may be like, this is the plan of this particular program. And it really is the plan for you. My plan is different than your plan, is different than what we give to a client. They need the plan of their own or the steps for themselves. And I remember that you said that, and it's very, very true that it's not the group. It's not the group instruction, or it's not the one-on-one instruction that we are assisting with. It's what they take with them, because it has to be for them. So it's like the tools are only for them, and you can't be any more authentic than what you've gone through, right? I mean, you've gone through something, and now you're explaining to them that it is not for them to work for you. It's for them to work for themselves, right? I mean, you've had your own thing. They have to have their own thing to go through. It was very telling how you put it, that, it's not the answers that everybody's going to get together, whether they're in a group, in a program. It's not the answers that the instructor wants them to have. It's not the answers that the group has to have. It's individual. And I think that because you've gone through something like that, you can't be any more authentic for them. It's just here you are, right? I mean, you're here and you're saying, this is what happened to me. And now you're going to take what you learn, and you go out and it happens to you in life, whatever that may be.
Well, just to recap in different words, that what I'm teaching, the way I'm leading, isn't about trying to get people to be the way I think they should be. It's about them becoming who they are. Like, that's where my joy and pleasure is. And that's where we take our place in nature. The creatoras we are, and we're all different, and we have different ingredients. So when I'm teaching a group, or when I'm doing one-on-one work, really my curiosity is like, what's in the box,
Mm-hmm.
And how do we unwrap that? And I think, you said we're professionals, like something to the extent we're professionals, we need to do this. I don't feel like I need to do this. I mean, I spent a few months once in my 30s working at Domino's Pizza, and I really enjoyed that a lot. I want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do this because I was a little girl who wanted to connect with other people. And you can't connect with other people when they're in their mask, when they're pretending to be something other than they are, when they're restricted and contracted. Like, the little girl in me gets a lot of joy in seeing someone become themselves. It's like watching a tree grow and, suddenly have fruit in their branches, and my sort of non-attachment to like trying to look a certain way or trying to make you a certain way makes me more trustworthy, because I am genuinely sitting there being like, what's in the box? Like, here are some ways to unwrap you, and you get to be whatever you are, and I'm just going to get that, and then we're going to work with that.
Right.
And it's not about me, and it's not about my agenda. It's purely like the essence of me that enjoys seeing things thrive. And I
exactly
tools and experience and stories that contrast thriving, that I can relate to what you're going through, and we can laugh about it, and then we could try something else.
Right.
Without any judgment at all.
Well, that's the important part, no judgment at all. And providing the tools for everybody to shine, like you said, to unravel what's in this packaging.
Right.
It's so very true. Yeah.
And just that's just sort of little girl wonder and curiosity of like, what are you?
Mhm.
Are you a tree? Are you a volcano? You have wings? Like let's see. And then what do you, if you were to take your place in the world, what would that look like? And really that's, what I see, that's the relief for people, is when they realize what they are and then they learn to live as what they are. That's when their lives start to change around them and they just start to naturally take their place, whether it's being a public speaker on a big stage or it's being an artist or whatever, like thriving in their workplace. Like, it's not about pushing or trying, it's literally about the unwrapping and then learning how to be that thing. And this is part of the ease that I'm talking about after brain surgery. Is just like, I don't have to do anything. I could die tomorrow. Like, I don't really care what you think of me. I just want to play as the creature I am, and I like doing this.
And we're lucky that we have you. We're lucky that we have you, and clients are lucky that they have you, right? I mean, that's just the way it is.
I'm so happy to be alive, and I think it's so joyful and impactful. I want as many people as possible have access to these things, because I understand we're all going to die, and as long as we're here, let's learn how to live.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. That's, we're all entitled to have, as I say, a rich and radiant life. We deserve it. We're all worthy of it.
Oh, hell yeah, we're all worthy of it.
Yes, so true. And so tell me, how can anybody get a hold of you? How can they reach you? And of course, I will definitely put all of the links in the comment section. I will definitely have everybody have a capability of reaching out to you. How can they reach you?
So, I mean, you can always go to my website, which is feral, like feral cat, feralfemale.com. You can find me on Facebook. I'm very active there. So Isis Leeor, Leeor, Isis like the terrorist, the goddess.
Yes.
I'm on Instagram. I'm infrequently on LinkedIn, but
I will put the link. I will put the links for everyone to be able to reach you if they want to. Definitely.
And the thing that I would say that's really special about this period of time is that I am moving towards bigger group offerings. I'm moving towards public speaking, and I've opened the next 6 months to continue to do one-on-one packages with people. And I'm also enrolling for Navigating the Wild, which is a life-changing program. And there's still spaces in that. So if someone sees this and they want in, please don't wait, because I'm also evolving.
Right, exactly.
Get in there now. Let's play like this now, because there's such beauty. It's such beautiful pinpointed work to do one-on-one, and Navigating the Wild level of intimacy. It will be this group. It's going to change and evolve. So get it.
Well, I thank you. I thank you very much for taking the time to come to speak to the audience today. It was so lovely. I'm so thrilled that you're feeling 100% and that you're continuing to do all this wonderful work. I listen to all of your reels and all your lives. You always have interesting things to say. I know you're doing much wonderful work in the world. And again, I thank you so much, Isis, for coming today and visiting with all of us. Thank you. Hope to speak with you soon. We'll have to definitely have you back on to speak about a couple of different topics. We could go on and on. Wonderful. Again, thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Yeah, besitos.